Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be reading this document, so I won't be staring into the camera every second of the video, but please learn this is vital. We are under a coup, and it's past time to act. Consider what has unfolded in 2025. I don't need to explain, you've all been watching the news, and it's clear that our nation is failing. A plan of action to defend the American democracy has emerged. It's called the Constitution Enforcement and Accountability Act of 2025, CEPAA, or CEPA. Its purpose is to call upon every American to demand accountability from our elected leaders, the military, and everyone else who has ever sworn to uphold the Constitution. Because violating that oath is a crime, and too many of our present government officials are criminals. It's a federal criminal offense. Any individuals employed by the United States government, including members of Congress, the President, the military, anyone who violates the oath they took is advocating the overthrow of a constitutional form of government they swore to uphold in good faith. CEPA is a demand that they reaffirm the oath they swore to the Constitution. A demand to refuse unconstitutional orders and to protect any oath being violated, and to hold those who violate the Constitution accountable. First off, all the quiet politicians need to help set up and codify constitutional adherence into law, or resign and get out of the way. Because this whole thing is ass backwards. The president and his thugs claiming the peaceful civilians are the invaders, and then sending troops to hurt them? Next, governments of every state need to draw a statement that unconstitutional orders inside their states will not be supported by any means. Executive orders will be drawn to activate all forces at the governor's disposal to stop violations of the Constitution by any means necessary. This is what the National Guard was made for. Any armed people forcing their will onto law-abiding citizens makes them the invaders. And it's the governor's duty to use every armed official at their disposal to stop invasions of civilian cities and protect the civilians that every governor swore to protect. They must use all police, state marshals, and the National Guard to stop illegal violations of the Constitution, or step down. If any leader issues an unlawful order of any kind, those under the chain of command have a duty to disobey, take action to stop the violations. Every private, every National Guardsman, every police officer should be helping to stop that violation. And if they don't, they're in violation themselves. Those in lateral, co-equal branches of government have a duty to investigate and prosecute the offenders who issue the orders. I was just following orders is no excuse. It's not an excuse under American law, and it's not an excuse under military law. Only lawful orders deserve obedience. CEPA enshrines this principle across all levels of government. The purpose and major goals of CEPA is a nationwide program to restore constitutional order. Every official in America, from the president on down, has sworn the oath to defend the Constitution. A legal commitment to the nation in exchange for the trust and authority they were given with their position. They are breaking the law with prosecutable offense every day. Where the hell are our leaders? We expect that they reaffirm the oath here and now, just like so many millions of Americans have. Americans who died, getting all of you your rights, all of us our rights. And their honor to that oath kept our country free every day up until including this day. CEPA consists of a complete 66-page legislative-style bill which spells out every aspect of the act in legal detail. It approaches the act with goals, schedules, stakeholders, instructions, public education, and a library of 26 executable legal forms for use by civilians, our military, and elected leaders. The administration has violated so many laws, and it's so thick with graft, but this document is about one basic premise: the constitutional oath which all government employees take, and the need to enforce that oath under pain of prosecution. Let me summarize CEPA's major goals. Step 1. Reassert constitutional authority and loyalty. What does that mean? Every person who holds office or wears a uniform has already sworn the oath and must actively choose the Constitution over any autocrat's command. Cepaa calls for a witnessed reaffirmation of the oath by officials at every level, especially enjoining them to answer the question, will you keep your promise to the Constitution, yes or no? This creates a clear line in the sand, and it lets we the people know who will stand by us. It's easy for politicians to talk about the Constitution while exploiting it and breaking it every day. Cepaa makes them put their name on the line in the first step. Step 2. Protect citizens from unconstitutional acts. This step is to shield ordinary Americans from any further unconstitutional abuses using state executive authority. Led by state governors and local executives, using executive orders to marshal the power of the state governors as defenders of the people's rights when anyone oversteps. This means state-level executive orders signed by governors, putting all armed state forces into action and on alert to block unlawful orders at the state line and anywhere within the state using local police, state troopers, and the National Guard. This enforcement forbids state law enforcement or any state resources from cooperating and uses force, if necessary, to ensure that no American is forced to undergo or partake in the violation of constitutional rights of any kind. Step 3. In parallel, state legal defenses will be activated. Led by state attorneys general, state solicitors, and public interest lawyers, while governors provide the muscle and executive orders, the state legal teams will wage a war in the courts, filing injunctions and emergency court orders for legal blockades, buying time, and stopping abuses in their tracks. State lawmakers will also pass bills and resolutions that enact new laws to reinforce defending citizens, close any loopholes in existing laws which apparently allowed violations in the first place. In short, it's a defensive wall around our rights and our states, using lawful state authority to check lawlessness from any actor. Although we mentioned the governor's action to mobilize state armed forces for securing the line, using our military and law enforcement as defenders, not tools of repression, this ultimately is led by patriotic National Guard commanders, state defense forces, local police leaders, and federal personnel. At the end of the day, this is the most critical line of effort because it addresses the muscle of enforcement. A dictator's orders mean nothing if no one will carry them out. But for those who make the mistake of following orders to attack citizens, opposing soldiers stopping these attacks are the only true solution once violence has begun. And it has begun. It's all over the news, and don't think you're immune. Governors will issue a sweeping Refuse Unlawful Orders memorandum to all U.S. military, National Guard units, and state law enforcement agencies, including local police. But as a last resort, if truly pushed to the extreme, violence is being used against citizens, states can activate their defense forces to protect their people. The plan is peaceful, but it does not abandon the right of self-defense when faced with domestic violence against the states. Step 4. Oversight, transparency, and accountability mechanisms. Led by independent commissions and law enforcement, working with civil society groups, journalists, and the public, this final line of effort is about shining a bright light on the truth and keeping it on, both to halt any current violations and to ensure justice afterward. Holding violators accountable. How Cepaa enforces justice and accountability for violators. Cepaa also promises that those who have perpetrated these constitutional violations will face accountability. It's not enough to stop the wrongdoing. We must ensure that it never happens again by bringing the violators to justice, stripping violators of any power to reoffend. U.S. law already has these actions, but they've been disregarded by the right, ignored by the left, and neutered by every other branch. Cepaa establishes independent commissions with authority to investigate and document every breach of oath. Much of the Cepaa effort is about documentation of violators and creating an official record of which laws were broken, by whom, and for what motivation. With meticulous documentation of evidence, these cases can be punished in courts or through impeachment, ensuring that no one escapes responsibility. The message is clear. If you break your oath and trample the Constitution, you will answer for it through lawful means. Now stand for the Constitution. My fellow Americans, the hour is late, but it's not too late. We are the heirs and beneficiaries of Washington and Lincoln, the soldiers who stormed the beaches of Normandy, and the marchers who braved the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They fought and died for our freedom. Now it's our turn. This is our test, our time to show that the American spirit is still stronger than any would-be dictator or tyrant. The Cepaa program I've described is just a very short description of a long, thorough legal blueprint. To our men and women in uniform, military, National Guard, police, and our intelligence and federal agents, remember that your highest loyalty is not to any politician or party, but to the Constitution and the people, your family. If you're asked to do something you know in your heart is wrong, to turn on your neighbors, to ignore due process, to help fix an election, or silence a reporter, you must have the courage to say no. America's counting on you, and we will stand and fight by your side always. Thank you. I wanted to point out that the governor of Illinois has already stood up and for all practical purposes is enacting something very much like this. The problem is that he's not getting any support from very many people. And we need all of our governors, all you governors, have sworn an oath when you were elected to a responsibility to protect the citizens of your state against anybody who would violate their constitutional rights and violate their liberty and perpetrate violence against them. And you need to use every power that you have at your authority to uphold that oath. And we're counting on you to do that. And if you're not ready to do that, you need to step down and let someone be governor who is willing to step up and order up the National Guard and the police and state troopers to go up against these violators, to stop them from hurting and killing your citizens and violating their constitutional rights, violating oaths that every single one of those masked men swore to uphold. It shouldn't be hard. And I don't care what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what the president says. I don't care what any senator says. Okay? Anyone who condones breaking someone else's constitutional rights is taking part in a coup. They're breaking the law, and their intention is nothing but evil.